My name is Rose Cliff Olson. As the screen before said, this session will be recorded. You will have an opportunity to listen to this and view it again. But this is going to be Ceco overview of the order writing guide. Ceco has a very detailed order guide for doors and frames, so we just want to give you a high level overview of their forms, and then we'll also get into a high level of um, the price book also, just kind of showing you how the layout is. So with that said, I also have someone here who is going to be helping with this session, helping with looking at the chats, because as we go through this, you really can't ask questions, just speak up. You'll have to use your chat, but we want to be able to answer all of your questions. So please put those questions out there. Pat will be monitoring that along with helping me. And then at the end of the session, we'll have time to also go over any other additional questions you may think of. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Pat so he can introduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Thank you, Rose. This is Pat Wright. I'm Door Group Business Development Manager for the Southeast region, which also includes where you're all
Pat.
calling in. Hello? Can you hear me?
Are you there, Pat?
I am. Can you not hear me?
Oh, he may have had some technical difficulties. So let's see. Yes, he can hear. I can hear. Oh, you can hear him?
Okay, well then in that case, I'll continue to talk. Again, this is Pat Wright. I'm with Door Group Business Development. I'm responsible for the Southeast region, which incorporates the area that you all are calling in from today, I would suspect. I wish I could do this in person. Originally, our plan was to meet with you in person down in Houston, Texas, and put this class on with the changes that are happening today. We had to regroup, and now we're doing this presentation via Zoom. This has turned out to be a very powerful tool for us, and I am so glad you could join us today. As Rose had said, this is going to go over kind of a pen and paper type presentation based on order forms and how to order and everything else. But we also have a program that's available called Order Pro from Ceco. So anybody that's interested in that and extending into that part of the program, please don't hesitate to reach out to your DSS representative, and they can help you with that, and we can get you some classes set up and some education going forward on the Ceco Order Pro for an extension. So again, thank you for joining us. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Pat. Sorry about that. I was having a little bit of difficulties on my laptop. So I can hear Pat fine. It looks like you all can hear me fine. So we're going to get started on our presentation. Basically on the order writing guide, again, it's understanding how the order writing guide is laid out. In the sequence that the order guide is laid out, you will be able to look at your acknowledgments, your package slips and invoices. They follow the same sequence, and they will have all the various hardware codes on there. You will also be able to find hardware codes we have listed in the Ceco price book. And as we go through there, you'll see some of those codes listed also. So with the order writing guide, things you'll need to get started is one, of course, you'll need the Ceco order writing manuals. These, you can have it with the binder, you can have the inserts or just inserts alone, you can order those. With the order writing guide, I'll have you, in the order writing packet rather, there's a couple things in this packet which are really nice. One is a frame production order form, and I'm going to show you that here in a little bit. It is a heavier weight paper in this packet, so it allows you to make copies. But if your handwriting and is anything like mine, you really don't want to have to write something up by hand. So we do have, and it's in an Excel sheet, if you don't have Order Pro. And again, Pat mentioned Order Pro. That is a great program that if you're not familiar with it, please get in touch with your GSS. They can have Summer to schedule a webinar for you. But in the meantime, you can use the various forms that we have in hard copy. So we have a frame production order form, a door, You have production frames. Basically, this gets into your hardware codes for all of your different frame hardware preps. And then we have another section that we call the production doors. Again, all of the different hardware codes associated with your doors in the sequence of the order form. And then we have some charts back there also. They include some of the things like your lights and louver sheets. You know, if you've got a special light or louver location, if you have a special hardware location that's something out of the norm than what any of the standard SDI members, you have a sheet there that you can actually list in your door or frame special locations. So we're going to begin with looking at the production order frame form. This is basically what it looks like, and it follows a sequence. You can go in and put in all your hardware codes. Again, the biggest thing is that your acknowledgement, invoice, packing slip will also follow the same sequence. Little closer look at this, it will show you where you put in your information, PO number, sold to, shipped to, discounts, and so forth. And again, even on Order Pro, this is all in the same sequence. So here are some examples. Again, this is going to be very high level, but I just wanted to get you a little bit aware of how the information is listed out on the order form. But this gives you an example of the fields that are 1 through 13 and 22, and we have to kind of scrunch it together a bit. But you'll see there your FR3 PC is a 3-piece frame, quantity of 1, and we're going to go through these codes. You'll see these in a little bit. DU is for drywall, unequal rabbeted frame, 16 gauge there. CRS is your cold rolled steel and 5 7/8. Jam depth and 4 7/8 throat. One thing I do like about the Ceco order form is that it asks you for the jam depth along with the throat size. So if there's some sort of discrepancy, it's easy to just kind of see that, hey, that isn't the right size for that jam depth, or the wall size isn't the right for that jam depth. So you get into your nominal sizes for your width and height, your handing, your strike preps, if it's KD, what type of corner detail you have, the different packaging, any kind of closure reinforcements. Again, I'm going to show you a list of all of these various types of hardware preps. And then you have for a place for your miscellaneous options. Say you have a sidelight frame, a special type of frame that you need a drawing attached. So you can put in there C, detail attached, detail number 1 attached. And it can then list out the size, the height, and all that stuff, how many lights are in that sidelight unit or transom frame. This is what you would get in this hard copy as far as your frame order, production order. It will go through all of the different types of hardware preps. And as you look through this and some of the examples I'll show you, anything that has an asterisk to it, you will need to have, we need to have additional information, whether that's a location, whether that's a model number, template. There's some additional information other than just that hardware code that we need in order to fabricate the material. So in field 1, this is where we were listing that FR3 PC. That just tells us you're going to be ordering a 3-piece frame. You'll notice the other various types of frames that are listed there and the asterisks. Field number 2 is where you're going to fill in your series, whether it's going to be unequal rabbeted frame, equal rabbeted frame, different types of communicating frames, things like that. And you'll see the codes that are listed to the right there. That's what's going to show up if you were ordering an unequal rabbeted frame, the SU, the masonry frame, that's what's going to show up on your acknowledgement. Field 3 and 4 gets into your gauge and material, 14 gauge, galvanil, 16 gauge, CRS, cold roll steel, so on. So this has a full page. And again, these are just snippets of these pages. This book is a standard 8.5 by 11 book, and it has about 40 or so pages for the frames and 40 or 45 pages for all of the hardware codes for your doors. The other thing about these code charts is if you're looking at an acknowledgement and you're not quite sure what that code is, this is a great place to come back because of the sequencing. You can kind of figure out where you need to look to understand what that hardware code is. These are your frame depths or jam depths that are listed. And then we get into your throat sizes. Again, on the book, they will have different notes at the bottom of the page. And then also sometimes depending on how complicated the hardware codes are, they have some that have a full page of information that you just want to be aware of. We have our opening width. We have our opening height. And we get into the handing, which is in field 9. Field 10 gets into your strike jam, and your standard one here will be your ASA lip strikes or your ANSI lip strike, which will be that code S, and you'll see all the other various types of codes. Again, note the codes that require some additional hardware, some additional information for us. It will have the asterisks there. Field 11 is the corner details. This is where you're going to tell us, is this frame just Katie? Are we going to weld this in some way? Is it going to be cut notch? Things like that. So you have a full page of different types of corner conditions. Also, with the different corner conditions and the Ceco tech data, we actually have different types of corner details that shows you what those are. And later on, we'll pull those up. If the frames are welded, here we have all of these various codes. We have this also in our tech data, which is really nice because you can actually see, and sometimes if you can actually see a detail, it makes a lot more sense. So these different codes, T2, T3, V2, and so on, they are in our tech data. We are working to get it on like a one page at a glance, but right now it is found in our tech data. Packaging. This just lets us know how do you want us to send this material out. Tag and bundle is usually the most common, or just bundling the material if it's bringing it into your shop and your shop guy is welding the product. 13, field 13 is your closure reinforcements. Again, note the asterisks, some of them have double, triple asterisks, and below on this page, you will see what they're asking for as far as if it's single, if it's a double or a triple asterisk. It gives you a definition of what we're looking for. Field number 14 gets into your label codes. These are going to be all of your fire rated labels. We do have UL and Warnock labels. We have combinations. We also have what we call a label construction. If you have a product that we have not tested, and for whatever reason the spec calls for that they would like to have some sort of label construction on this material, we can supply that. It is not a fire rated label. It just basically says that label is that material is made as if it could be labeled, but because of restrictions, whether that's height, jam depth, width, or whatever, we cannot put a fire rated label on it because we have not tested it. So that is sometimes found in your specification. Field 15 gets into your special face. Now, in Ceco's order book, you'll have this page, which is the special face, and you'll see it says special face heads only, which means that it's only your head. So you could have your 2-inch side jams, and your header will be 4-inch face. If you wanted the frame, all 3 pieces, to have a special face, say you want all 3 pieces to be 1.5 inch face, then this is the code. So the F would be for frame, and then if you look at this, it says H, and that will refer to your header only. So that's kind of a way you can make sure that you're looking at the right code. Okay, so this one would be all 3 components will have a special face dimension. Field number 16 gets in the various anchor types. We have it divided in your attached anchors are at the top, and at the bottom of the page, and a continuation on a couple pages, we have loose anchors. And I just gave you a little bit of a picture of it below there. So you have all various types of welded in anchors and loose anchors that you can pick from. Again, if you're not really sure on the anchors, we have a lot of these pictures in our tech data that you can take a look at. Field 17 gets into your deadlock strike. So if you're doing a secondary strike or you need a deadlock strike, here are your codes. Again, look at the notes that are below there. Was able to actually include these. So it gives you some information about what we're looking for if you're going to use that hardware code. Flush bolt, field 18 gets into your paired frame headers. So if you've got flush bolts, surface bolt preps, if you have any type of vertical rods or anything else like that in the frame header, this is the preps that you'll be looking at. Field 19 gets into your various types of hinges or pivots. You'll see there 4.5. It's going to be your standard, the 4-5H. That's going to allow you to get into your standard or heavyweight hinge on the 4.5. Any other hinge size, you will need to tell us if it's standard or if it's a heavyweight prep that you're using. And then miscellaneous options. I always say if you don't have your hardware, you're looking at a hardware prep and you're trying to figure out where it goes. If it doesn't fit in any of the previous fields, we have probably 4 or 5 pages of miscellaneous options from paint to various types of other hardware preps that you can most likely find. And then so your sketch number tagging, these are your architectural mark numbers, and you'll see that it should be listed in field 21 and field 22. Now that is a very quick overview of the frames. And again, this is just going to be a high level just to get you a little bit familiar with the layout of this if you're not familiar with it. And again, I would stress, please get a hard copy of this, or we have it in I can send it in a PDF. And then also if you want to do the Order Pro, definitely you want to take advantage of that. So we get into the doors. This basically follows the same sequence as your frames, but now everything is of course related to doors. We'll skip through that. This kind of gives you an up close view of the information that's on that order form. So you get into your part number, quantities, your door series, the gauges, so on, material sizes, and everything else. And we'll walk through those different, and you'll see that under like the door series, you'll see the number 2. If you go to field 2, you're going to see all of the various types of door series, and that's how we do that. The one thing too you want to be aware of is when you're looking at for door sizes for nominal size, 2'8" by 7'0", but also if you need a net size and you want us to make that door this exact size with no undersizing to it, you want to drop that below under the tab underneath that says net sizes. You don't want to put both. You don't want to have 2'8" and 35 and 7/8 on there. You want to be able to either do nominal and we'll undersize it, or do an actual or net size. This shows you the additional fields in the door section of the order form. And then, as I said, the door section has its own set of hardware codes that you can look through. And here we'll do a high level of these codes. You'll see here going into the description, whether it's a single, active or inactive. And of course, on the paired doors, you need to list your active on one line, the inactive on another, the second line. Various other types of items there. You'll see Dutch doors, transom panels, things like that we have available. Field number 2 is your door series. This is where you're going to get into the various types of door cores, what they are, handed or non-handed. And we have a complete page of all of our different types of door series that are listed. Again, just like the frames, you have a field for your gauge and the material of your doors. Again, you'll see them listed here. We go from 12 to 20 gauge. Field number 5 gets into your opening size, again, with on here, and you want to list it as your nominal size, and then you'll see our codes associated with that. The height, it's the same way here. It's listed, and then you have your codes. One thing is a little different that kind of usually takes me off guard sometimes is on the height. When it's 10 foot, it listed as 100. So you have to remember that they're just saying 10 foot 0 inches on that code. Just be aware of that. Door designs on your doors with all the different types of elevations. Of course, your flush with no cutouts or embossing is going to be your F, but you'll see all the various other types. We have light designs there. We have narrow lights, half glass, louvered, but we do have another section in this order book that when you get into the more complicated light kits, we have a section for that. So it has a variety of different types of light kits, sizes, locations, and everything else. The handing of your doors here are listed. Field number 9 is your closer reinforcement, and as I think we've talked about this before, but closer reinforcement will need to be specified. You will need to order those. It is not included as a standard item in the door. So your standard closer is going to be your C1. Your field number 10 is where you're going to list in your lock or your strike or your panic code on here. So we have cylindrical locks, we have the lever locks with the through bolt holes. We have the prep, which I call the squash turtle, where it will accommodate most common lock manufacturers through bolt location. The one thing you want to be careful of with that prep is that if you're using certain lines of locks, the rose doesn't fit over that punched out detail, so you'll want to be careful of that. But this gets into a lot of different other types of hardware preps as far as your lock and your strike and exit devices. Your fire rated codes for your doors, you'll see it listed here. We have UL, we have Warnock, we have different combinations. And again, we have that label construction one that's listed a little bit down on the page. Again, here, leave this blank underneath the label there. Leave this field blank if you do not require a label. You'll see some of those on previous pages also, that if it's something that's a standard, you don't have to put that in. You can just leave it blank. Field number 12 is your undercut. The two undercuts that Ceco does not charge for is 3/4 and 5/8. They do not charge for. All the other undercuts you'll see listed here, and there's a charge associated with that. Again, you'll notice that the 3/4 inch undercut is blank. So that is what you would get as standard if you do not put anything in there. Then we get into your glass trim and louvers. Again, if you're not using any of these, please leave them blank. But you'll notice you have a variety of different types of light kits, welded in, snap in, but you'll see the various asterisks. So below on the bottom of this page is going to have a lot of different notes for you that will associate it with the various codes there. So again, just those codes will not be enough for us to manufacture the door. Deadlock preps are listed here, and you'll see the various types for cylindrical type, mortise type of deadlock preps, and we have a variety of other ones, additional ones. Field 15 is where you're going to list your surface or flush bolts, and again, you'll see the rod length there from 6 inch all the way to 48 inch. So again, we have a variety of different types of flush bolt preps. We also have in there surface bolts and things like that also. Field number 16 gets into your astical or your hardware mullions, and you'll see some of them listed here. Again, be aware of the various notes, whether at the top or at the bottom of the page. In field 17, we have special hinges or pivots. Again, the one that's going to be your most common one is going to be the 4-5H. Everything else, if it's standard weight or heavyweight, you will need to list that out. You'll see continuous hinges listed there, half or full surfaced hinge reinforcements, a variety of different types of preps available. Different types of finish. If you leave this field 18 blank, then you're just going to get gray primed material.
Rose?
Yes.
Will you go back to the hinge preps again?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not sure if you said, did you just say 4-5H is our standard?
For the 4.5, the pop-off one, yep. Is that not correct?
I'm not sure, and that's why I'm asking. If you leave it blank, if you are using standard hinges, you can leave this field blank. So that is not, you wouldn't want to put 4.5H in there for a .134 hinge, standard hinge reinforcement. That's for a heavyweight, right?
134 is standard for 4.5. 0.18 is for your heavyweight and the 4.5.
Yeah, yeah, but 45H is going to give you your heavyweight .180. So we want it just leaving it blank will get you a standard 4.5-inch .134 hinge prep if that on a special order door.
Okay. All right, so you'll leave that blank if it's the standard one that you, for 4.5 standard or heavyweight, correct?
I'm not sure you're going to get that. I'm not sure how to get the universal. That's something we're going to have to check and get back. But I think if you leave it blank, you definitely get the .134. If you go 4.5H, that's going to get it prepped for only heavyweight only, .180.
Okay.
It's not going to come with that reinforcing plate.
Yeah, you're right. I read it wrong. I believe you are correct, Pat, and thank you so much for correcting me on that. Evidently, I don't have enough coffee yet. Thank you. Thanks so much. So we get into 18 is the color paint, miscellaneous options. When you look in the book, you'll see all different types, whether you've got the different types of lock, locations, heights. We get into different hardware preps, all in that field there. And when you open up the book, you'll see pages and pages and pages of additional hardware codes. 20 is for your sketch number. If you're doing a special type of door and you want that light located a certain place, you can use that. Tagging, which is field number 21 for all your architectural mark numbers. And then basically at the back of this order writing book, they've added quite a few different charts. Two of the favorite ones I have is the door in the frame fold out. They're like on a 11 by 14 sheet. They're great for, as it says, for quick reference. It has the more of the common hardware codes and preps on for doors and for frames. And a lot of distributors will take that fold out, laminate it, and especially for the guys in the shop until they can get accustomed to the various codes and the sequence of the codes for doors and frames, you'll have that handy. So that's something that you may want to take advantage of. Also, in that also it includes different types of charts for your glass light kits and louvers, the locations, also your door design. This gets into on one sheet of paper, it has all the various types of door design: flush, louver, half glass. Some of the more exotic types of door designs that we have will be listed there along with the codes. So take advantage of those charts, and those are found at the back of this packet of order writing manual. And again, one thing it talks about making sure you're having all the proper information in the forms. With the Order Pro, it is a lot easier because it's just a point and click and you put the information in there. We do have one that is an Excel type of point and click drop down menu one also if you're not up and running on Order Pro. So again, here are some of the forms that are at the back of the how to order guide. And Pat, did I miss anything on that?
No, ma'am, and we're up to speed on the questions, so
Okay.
ready to move into the next section.
All
Unless
right.
somebody wants to pop a question real quick now.
Nope, can't do any more questions. So the next item we want to, again, very high level, is the layout of the Ceco price book. The March 2020 price book is now out. It came out, what, Pat, in February, effective. It was effective March 16th, I believe. That is on Order Pro. And you keep hearing us talking about Order Pro. It is a really good tool for you. Even if you're not using the order part of it, Order Pro is where we house all of our tech data, our price books. Right now, if you go into Order Pro, you will see the Ceco Price Book 2020, and then you will see the, what was it, the 2018, I think it is, Pat? So they
That is
keep
correct.
both of them for a while, but you will see both of those price books, tech data. We also, that's where we house all of our, what we call info sheets, Ceco info sheets. So if we come out with new products, if we have a design change, if we have something that's new that we want to put in our price book, all of that information gets emailed to our customers. But again, as a reference, you can go back and look into Order Pro and say, hey, have I missed something over the last month or two? And just go back through them and see what new items are out there. So again, Order Pro is a very good tool to become familiar with. So
Rose,
yes.
also, except for the notices, when we got product notices, that's the best place to find those from Ceco. But as the price book that Rose is showing you here, that's available on the extranet or Connect, and that's available for downloading under the collateral materials, along with a lot of other Ceco information. If you're not set up with Connect or the extranet, we can definitely do that. Please reach out to your local DSS rep and talk to them about getting that done, and we'll get you taken care of. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pat. So on this is, again, high level, just kind of showing you how the layout of the price book is. So with Ceco's price book, we start off with our polystyrene foam core. All of the doors have the same type of format. You will have your chart and your sizes listed there to the left. Just above that, you will see LC, LM1, LMO, and LPO. Those are the hardware codes for the standard lock preps that are included in the base price of this door. You have your width, your height, and then you go into your 820, 18 gauge, 16 gauge, and 14 gauge. There is a asterisk on the 20 GL4. 20 gauge are sold as A60 galvanneal only. So you want to be aware of that. And then to the left of that, I'm sorry, to the right of the chart, you begin with your various types of hardware add-ons. So you have your base price of your door, then you add on any types of additional hardware preps. You'll see we do have some codes for some of these hardware preps. And again, closure reinforcements, you have your galvanneal charges, your galvanized charge, which is your G90. If you want the door to be seamless, you'll have listed there, different types of labels and so on. And then with Ceco, they have additional, another page that's next to it to give you additional hardware extras. Now, the theory and the way they kind of laid this out is that they want you to be able to do the majority of your pricing from 2 pages. So you'll see a continuation of hardware preps here. We also, when we get out of the door section for pricing, the next tab you'll see is accessories and hardware preps. This you'll see to the left here, you'll see different types of extras, whether it's painting and different things like that. Then you will also see like door and frame prep charges. And the one nice thing is they do have a detailed picture of what you're looking at, and you can kind of go down the list with your different adders and different hardware preps, whether they're door or frame. And again, be aware that they list the door and frame preps next to each other, so you don't want to get the, slide over and get the incorrect one.
Rose?
Yes.
Would you back? There you go. I wanted to point out to everybody, notice on the left-hand side, the setup charges. And that's a one-time setup charge per the order. See, setup charge per order per white color primer, never waived. And I want to make sure that everybody catches that. You got your upcharge for your painting and everything, but you also have a setup charge that's a one-time. So you may have 10 doors, and on those 10 doors, you're going to get charged one time $898, and then the additional charge of say a second coat of primer is $68 for the frame. Second coat of primer on the door is $70. So you'll have that for each door, and then a one-time $898 setup charge. So just watch out for that.
Right. And the other thing I didn't point out, and I apologize for that, is on the doors, if you have a size that is a different size, so say it's like 3'1.5" by 8'2 3/4" or something a little bit out of the norm, We don't have a setup charge for that, but we do list on the price pages to go to the next largest width or the next largest height. So you want to be aware of that also. So we talked about your hardware preps here. And then the next tab you'll get into then is your frame pricing. So your frame pricing is listed throughout all of our frames, whether they're the standard masonry frame, which is your S frame, your drywall frame, D frames, on any of the other types of frames. The format is laid out pretty much like this. So we start off with listing at the top what our frames are. So on this page, we see that we have SU for unequal rabbeted frame, SQ, equal rabbet, SR for single rabbet. And these are base price is going to be 16 gauge for 1 3/4 and 1 3/8 doors. Then underneath this is where it tells you what's included in the base price of your frames. So it talks about your loose anchors, your 2 welded and seal anchors, or some people call it base anchors, are there. And then over 7'2", they have 2 additional anchors. So up to 7'2", you're going to get 6 per frame. Over that, you will get 8 per frame.
Rose?
Yes.
Also note that on the 5 3/4 frame, we break that pricing out different than the rest because of the commodity that we end up doing in that particular product or jam depth. The 5 3/4 is a little less, the price point is a little lower than if you look over at the 3" to 6" at 182. We're $10 under on the 6/8 3/0. And that's due to the amount of volume that we run on that product line. So that's an opportunity to definitely improve your pricing on a project.
Absolutely. So then continue on with the notes at the top there. You get into the S series that talks about your 5 3/4. Again, we'll have that 4 7/8 throat with the 7/16 back set. And your frames are available in 1/8" increments. You're going to get bundling or tagging is not included in this base price. That is an extra. So when you look at the chart, as Pat said, the 5 3/4 is listed first, and then we get into from 3" up to 14" jam depth. To the left there, you'll see your width and your heights. We go up to 10 foot tall. And then to the right of that, you start off with the first chart is your 5 3/4 jam depth, and then your 3" to 6" jam depth, and so on. So if you look at this, you'll see the 14" jam depth, but if you look at the chart to the right there, item number 2, it shows you that you can price a frame all the way up to a 17 7/8 jam depth frame. So how you do that is you take all the way up to the 14" frame. So say you had a 3070 and we were going to go with a 16" jam depth frame. So your 3070 base price would be $325. 3070, yeah, $325, doing this without my glasses. And then you'll go over to item number 2, and you want to get to a 16" jam depth frame. You take the second line item there. You're going to multiply that 325 by 3. That gets you from a 16" up to a 17 7/8 jam depth frame. So again, we have that ability to price out those bigger frames. So you'll also get in to continue on with your frame extras. We have galvanized material, galvanized material. With that said, you'll have a price for your 3-piece or a complete frame, and then you can also do it in pieces. You get into your different types of anchors are listed there. And again, the continuation of this page will have additional other hardware preps for you.
Also notice the tagging and bundling part, line number 3 on frame extras, that if you're when you're quoting a project, you may not consider this, but if you're going to order it, in most cases, you're going to order that project with the material all pulled together as a bundle in the door number. You're not going to order it as kind of like a stock situation. You're going to want it all put together. So that's a $5 list price charge that it gets added to every door opening.
Absolutely, and it is so worth it. And the other thing too is in this price book, everything in here is list price. So you will be adding your discount, putting your discount to this material. And then we have pricing for side light, borrowed lights. The FRBL is for your frame borrowed light, FRSL is frame side light, and FRTF is frame transom frame. So you'll have all the various types of sizes listed here. Again, we do the same thing here as we did with the standard frames. We start with 5 3/4 jam depth due to the fact that's the most popular type of frame jam depth that you'll see more times than not. And then we get into your various jam depths listed across the top there. Also, we have details of the various types of weld corners. You'll see there in step 6 there, it shows you your frame corner weld, your what I call the T-weld listed there, V6, V7, 8, and 9. Your sill section to the right of that, your V10. And again, this is just part of the chart on this page, but again, it has all the information about your glazing, if you need something spliced, things like that. So you can get all of that information basically from your 2 pages. And then we get into custom profiles and stick material. This is where you get into, you'll see here to the left there, the weird and wonderful stuff. In the price book, we have a snippet of it, but in our tech data, we have a number of pages that goes into quite a depth of the different profiles that we have available. So we can't get into these different types of profiles. And again, you'll see that stock on your stock stick links. So these are going to be material that you can bring into your shop. Your shop guy can cut it if you're needing a borrowed light or a side light, transom frame, a handful of those or whatever the case may be. You can bring that material in stick, and then they can cut it and weld it. Behind those, the side light, different types of frames, and then your stick material, the next section you'll see in your price book will be pricing of your door, pricing for door and frame parts. This is all your parts and pieces. So if you need base anchors, additional loose anchors, knockouts for cylindrical locks, you want to blank something out for your hinge preps, all of those different types of parts and pieces will be found in these next few sections, on the next few pages. The nice thing about it is it does give you the picture of the part that you're possibly looking for. Gives you a lot of times you'll need to know the depth of the frame. If you're using it for a specific jam depth, you'll want to make sure that it will fit in the particular jam depth that you're looking at. And then it goes on with all of the different parts and pieces. You can get them in pallet quantities. Also, as you see there, gives you list unit prices or pallet quantity prices. Because a lot of times with the distributors who have shops, you're going to want to bring this in larger quantities to have it for future material, future fabrication. And then behind the pricing of the door and frame parts, we have the specialty and windstorm are going to be your last 2 sections in your price book. And I didn't show those because they have pages and pages. So we get into all of our specialty, the blast, the bullet, the lead line, watertight, flood doors, things like that. You have all of that information along with your windstorm and hurricane and tornado FEMA products are all listed in the last 2 sections of the price book. So with that said, that is a quick overview of the layout of the Ceco price book. Pat, are there any questions on either the price book or going back to the order writing guide?
We don't have any questions, but I got a couple of statements. Let's first
Yes.
move back 1 slide, if you would, please, Rose. Where it says specialty, windstorm, and this goes for everything that you run into in the Ceco group. We have a group of people that work at the manufacturing facility, engineers and technical people that can help us to no extent. So if you get into a situation where you're having trouble with the price book, please, you can reach out to your DSS sales rep. talk to them and they'll get you in touch with the right people at Ceco, or you can talk to your Ceco customer service person and they can point you in the right direction to our engineering department. The other thing is we talked a little bit about, or in fact, we talked quite a bit about Order Pro, but we also talked about Extranet and Connect. There's some other services that we have available. Once a week, we send out a lead time for Ceco. That goes out on Friday. And then we also send out, probably on a once a month basis or as needed, any product updates or new product introductions. There's a newsletter that's available for those particular items that you can get signed up for. So please don't hesitate to reach out to your DSS sales rep. They'll get you linked right up to what needs to be, and we're standing behind them to help them wherever they need it. So again, I'm not seeing any other questions. So with that, I'm going to sign off, let Rose finish up. And hold on, we do have a question.
Okay.
Okay, the question we got right now is, can you show where they would enter louvers on the order form, Rose?
Let's go here. Get out of here. On the frame, on the doors rather, hang on a sec. Let me see if I can get to here to the section for the doors. I might have to pull up the actual, see if I can find it here real quick for you in our copies. If not, I will, here is in louvers. Designs, the different types of lights and louvers are going to be listed here. We have a field 7, but we also have another field that gets into more special types of louvers and lights. And let me here, we get into some different types of glass trims and louvers here in field 13. This one here is going to be your more custom types of glass trims and louvers. If it's your standard 10 by 10 or your standard half glass, the previous field is where you want to put that. These are going to be for your welded in type light kits, special size and special location types of louvers is where you're going to use field 13. Hopefully that answers the question. Or Pat, if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think what you do is under field 7, you're going to specify that you have a louver in the door, and then you would go on to field 13 to finalize if it needs more detail at that point.
If it's something really special, yes, because in field 7, if you look at field 7, you have your standard sizes here. Okay, these are all pretty much your standard industry standard sizes, and we have a whole nother list of them also. You pretty much look at these as some of your standard sizes. This field here is going to get into, as it says there, flush welded in steel kits. So these are going to be your really more complicated lights and louvers. Any other questions, Pat?
What is the difference between LF and LFX on the door face chart?
On the door design or the, on the, here, in the door series? I'm not sure where he picked that code up from. If he could, LF. I don't see where he picked the code up from. I apologize. I'm trying to look here real quick. Do you see it, Pat? I don't. Is it? He said door design, correct?
Go to field 7, Rose. They may be looking at the order writing manual at this point. Hold on a second.
Okay, I would have to get my order writing manual out. Hang on a sec. And he's in field 7. Yeah, I've got it here. For door design. And he was asking about what is the code again? I'm sorry, Pat.
LF versus LFX.
Okay, it's on page 13 of the order. LF and LFX. Standard full louver design, special full louver. The notes say, okay, so for the standard full louver design, LF, it shows Ceco standard full louver cutout will leave 6 3/4 top rail, 8-inch bottom rail. If ADA code requires the bottom rail to be a different size, use a special full louver code and call this out in field 19, miscellaneous options, and send sketch. For the LFX is one single asterisk. So it says for special glass or louver sizes, call out sizes in field 19, miscellaneous options, and see note 5 on page 15. Woo! Page 15, code number 5 says when special glass size and or louvers are required, prepare a sketch showing cutout sizes, locations, and indicate your sketch number in field 20. So they really want you to put down every single piece of information, and it looks like on the LFX it's going to be something completely special.
Well, the LF is our standard.
Is our standard, but they want you to make sure that you know the size and everything else. The LFX is going to be something out of the ordinary. You can tell by our sizes if you go to our tech data, we have standard sizes that we use as far as lights and louvers. So look at that. If the cutout you're looking for, the light size or the louver size you're looking for doesn't fall within our standards, you would go to the LFX.
Gotcha. Yep. That makes sense.
Okay. Any additional questions?
That's it. I think we've gone through. There's nobody added anything at this point.
All right, that is great. And again, thank you all so much. I know it's a lot of information. We squeezed in a little bit of time, but again, this is the best platform right now for us with all social distancing and everything else. But I do appreciate you spending the time with us. Please note at the beginning of this session, this is being recorded, and tomorrow you'll have access to this presentation. If there's anything on here specifically that you would want, please get in touch with your local DSS and we can see what we can do. Other than that, thank you all again, and please stay safe out there. Have a great day.